know what's going to happen. Don't be nervous, Jill. You're fine. All right. You're fine. You guys are fine. Look at you guys. You're professionals. All right. Hey, we are live here on CU Broadcast. Welcome to our show, everybody. Mike Lawson here with CU Broadcast. And we have quite the group here today. We're talking Board of Directors demographic research that the folks at CU Collaborate have partnered with Humanidei on. And before we dive into that, let's do some interviews. Let's do some introductions. Oh, my gosh. Live stuff. I love it. All right. So right directly below me is Jill Nowacki from Humanidei. Jill, how are you down there? How's it going?
Doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. And then down below next to Jill, diagonal from me is CU Collaborate's Morah Taylor. Morah, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. And then right next to me is CU Collaborate's Louis Dopico. Louis, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Thank you for having us.
Good. Oh, I'm glad to have you guys here. Again, I'm a little nervous because you guys are really smart people. So I want to do well for you guys. So today we're talking about some research that you guys have been doing. It's almost like 10 years in the making. It's called the Credit Union Boards of Directors Demographic Research. And this started in 2012 all the way up to 2021. So you guys have been at this for a while, it sounds like, or at least the research part of it. So Morah, I'm going to let you go first on this. Give us a quick overview of this report. Can you provide a quick summary?
Yeah, sure. So this report is a landmark exploration of the current state and the recent evolution of credit union boards of directors in terms of size, women's representation, and minority representation, and then how these factors relate to institutional performance.
Okay, good deal. And Jill, I want to get Humanidei's role in this as well, because obviously when you're a part of something, man, we got to know about it. So what's Humanidei's role in this research?
So a while back, Sam Brunell from CU Collaborate and I were having some conversations. And as I've talked about the importance of having diversity and leadership roles in the credit union space, Sam is one who always kind of probes a little bit deeper on things. So he's coming back and saying, well, what does it look like today? Well, what about this? And as we got into conversations about boards, we really couldn't say. We could make some guesses, but we didn't have definitive information that shared board diversity. And when you think about the places where decisions are being made in credit unions about products and services being offered to really help members' lives, it's the board that ultimately is the top level of making those decisions. And we didn't know how representative they were of communities, but felt strongly that they need to be representative of communities in order to make that difference. So when I told Sam, it's something I'd love to know, but we don't, he pulled out some information that Luis and Morah could definitely tell you a lot more about, related to being able to go in, dig deeper, find that information, and then look at the study. So when he told me they could find it, I said, we'd love to be partners in that.
Right on.
Part of that side of it.
And Sam is definitely, if you don't know Sam, he's definitely a deep thinker. He's a guy that puts a lot of thought into things and very methodical. And he's a success for a reason. So and a good guy too, all around really good guy. So Louis, I'm going to come to you here because Jill kind of set you up nicely here. So what can you provide kind of the purpose of conducting this report real quick, and then we'll get into some findings that you guys discovered as well.
Well, we are researchers, so we like data, and whenever there is a data set, we want to dig into it. So there is that element of pursuing knowledge for the sake of pursuing knowledge itself, but there's also, why do you study this over that? So this is a very important topic. Credit unions are democratic, member-driven institutions, and as such, they should want to represent their membership in its full diversity across gender, race, and many other ways in which diversity expresses itself in society. And when we started digging into it, we realized that there was no comprehensive data or comprehensive data out there.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we found a couple of articles that had people's guesses and impressions. And we did a survey of 300 credit unions, but there are 5,000 credit unions out there, and the data wasn't out there. And some, I am a researcher, and I love working with data that is there, that is clean. But Sam is not someone who takes no for an answer. And when he was told, well, the data is not there, he said, well, let's try to make sure that we can dig for that data. So he basically said, well, let's do a FOIA. He's the king of FOIAs. I don't know how much NCUA likes him about it, but he said, let's do a FOIA to the National Credit Union Administration, Freedom of Information Act. Let's see what data they have and what data we can get. And they didn't have the data that we need per se, but they could give us a list of every board of director for every credit union beginning in 2012.
Oh, so that's why it started in 2012. Okay, I got you.
Yes, so we just got the data a few months ago.
Okay.
But they were able to give us data back in the past. And the same way that you queued me up, I am queuing up Morah so that she can tell us a little about the mathematics that we used to turn a list of names into a detailed exploration of very high quality estimates of race and ethnicity.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I was fascinated before, but now I'm even more fascinated because you guys are like architects, or architects, like archaeological dig here, you know? So this is really fascinating. All right, Morah, the stage is yours. Thanks to Luis.
Yeah, so like Luis said, we were able to get data on, we got board members' names, and then we used their headquarters as a proxy to their location. And by combining all of these things, we're able to come up with a pretty reliable estimate of race and ethnicity for each member. And then we were able to track that over time, luckily, as we were able to get the historical data back to 2012. So yeah, that's what we did.
Yeah, and I have to correct myself because at the beginning it sounded like you guys were at this for 10 years, but no, it's just, the research goes back 10 years or almost 10 years. So I apologize.
It almost felt like 10 years, but
going through this stuff. But it's fascinating. The information that you guys found is really, really cool. Jill, do you want to start out with a couple of the findings here that really kind of fascinated you or kind of caught your attention?
I will, but let's be very clear that I am not the one who can speak to the data behind it very well. But I will say, I think that often there's an expectation, I think, or often we'll say, well, we've pretty much covered gender diversity because there has been such progress over what it used to be. Yeah. And I think it was important to look at and see that the findings still discovered that we are not at gender parity. We've had improvement, certainly, but gender parity looks like 50-50. And I mean, let's also say perhaps the inclusion as well of transgendered individuals, and we aren't there in that place. The other area that I think was unsurprising, I have heard that even at CEO levels in credit union space, we have fewer than 5% of our CEOs are people of color. And so it's not surprising to also learn that there are not as many people of color in board positions. I think we expected to see that. What I didn't expect, and I've sort of jokingly said in a couple of rooms that I've been in that y'all timed this real well with Hispanic Heritage Month right now, as far as being September 15th to October 15th, is that what is abundantly clear in this research is the significant underrepresentation of Hispanic voices in our credit unions. And with that being such a fast growing young population in the United States, I think that's reason for concern and action from credit unions to really look at how to expand and diversify in that area. So those were the findings that definitely jumped out the most at us, as well as what it means from the perspective of being able to look at this and say, but when we look at the results of those credit unions that do have more diversity, how are they serving the communities? And what they discovered in that area was really encouraging.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's the kind of, again, getting back to the purpose of this is to really kind of reveal these numbers to really like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that, the underrepresentation was at that level, almost, in some cases 1% or 0, so it's really kind of surprising to see that type of stuff, but it also makes you aware to make changes. So, and that's what the numbers are for. So Luis and Morah, can you share a couple of more findings, go into maybe some percentages, because like the women representation, the minority representation. Luis, do you want to go first on this one?
Sure. Well, for some reason, we always do women representation first, and we then do minority representation. Do you want to go first, Morah?
You want Morah?
Yeah,
you go first. Ladies first.
All right. So we found women representation to be around 35%. And overall, or sorry, well, on an unweighted average. When you look at an asset weighted average, which is what we do in a lot of cases, because when you look at an asset weighted average, you're looking more at the most common experience of members of credit unions, because most members are members of larger credit unions. So on an asset weighted average, women's representation increased from 26% to 32% from 2012 to 2021, which is pretty remarkable difference. And we also like to compare. We also compared this to to companies in the Russell 3000 index, who in 2021 had 27% women's representation, so a little bit higher there in the credit union space, which is nice. And to speak more on what Jill was saying, we found gender parity at 26% of credit unions, so 40 to 60% women's representation there. But we found that 56% were under parity compared to 15% at more than parity.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So there's still some work to be done, obviously, there. So, and we're getting there. So, Louis, do you want to share the minority representation, that aspect of the report?
Yeah. What we'd like to emphasize is that there's a quote out there that is somewhat controversial, that if you can't measure something, if you don't measure something, you don't improve it. So before this study, there was no comprehensive data out there. So, I'm not going to say that credit unions got a pass, but, when no one knew what the degree of minority underrepresentation out there, well, you could say, well, maybe my credit union is a little further behind, but the credit union system must be doing well. Yeah. I'm not going to say whether we're doing well or not. I'll let the numbers speak for themselves.
Let the numbers speak for them. Yeah.
But what I can say is that now that we know what the numbers are, then each individual credit union can say, okay, I want to be instead of being part of the problem, I want to be part of the solution. So the numbers that we find are a little discouraging. In the Russell 3000 index of small corporations, the degree of minority representation is 13%. 13%, which is obviously far below the 42% minority proportion in the U.S. overall population. Over in credit unions, after you member weight, asset weight, we have found that during the last 9 years, from 2012 to 2021, the percentage has gone up from a little under 13% to a little over 14%. Okay. So the numbers have gone up a little. The numbers are a little higher than in the for-profit sector, but the numbers have gone up from a little under 13% to a little over 14%, when in the population as a whole, the minority fraction of the population went from 37 to 42. Okay. So we might be moving in the right direction. We are clearly not where we would want to be as a democratic movement that represents people as they are and as they look. But what we like to emphasize is that our goal here is to be a clarion call for change. Now we know where we are. Now we can try to do better. Yeah. Now that we know the numbers, we can have a plan of attack. So let's get this going. And obviously, you want the percentages to match the representation numbers that you stated, right? So we're trying to get there. That's the hike. We got a big hill to climb. So lots of work to be done here. So how can credit unions take advantage of this information? Jill, I'll let you go on this one. So what are your thoughts here?
I'm a big believer that when we're transparent about the data, that's the point where we know we can take action. And so that's what Luis's point of, we maybe didn't know before, but now we know. And so it's time to create that plan. So the areas that are really critically important, many organizations will say, well, you look at my community though, and we just don't have a lot of diversity here in the community. And so the first step might be to take some time to really understand the census data, the demographic makeup of the communities you serve and the members you have to take that. So we're speaking at national levels, right? If we're saying 42% of the US population are people of color, we know that that's not the case in every community. It's not 42% of every community.
Right.
So know the numbers in your community and then aspire to recruit and build out representation that's reflective of those numbers in your community. And that does mean taking a look maybe at your recruitment practices for volunteers, but also the practices you use once you onboard or bring in new volunteers. I can't tell you how many times I'll talk to somebody and they'll say, well, we added this person to our board and then she just didn't fit in. So she stepped away. And when we step through and ask questions, what we'll find is you made an effort to add some diversity, but you didn't do it in a way that really considered equity or how to be inclusive of that. And that person felt like the outsider or couldn't really impact. And so it doesn't result in retained diversity.
Right.
And so really being conscientious, not just about attracting and recruiting more diversity, but creating equitable and inclusive practices that volunteers are added in order to move it forward can be really helpful.
Yeah. And in the conclusion of this study, there was some information there have been studies that have proven that the more diverse you are, say the more successful you are, but the better ideas, the better collaboration again. So there's so much upside to having a more diverse board or a more diverse organization. And it's been proven time and time again. And you guys showed it in this study as well, right? So it's really cool. Jill, looks like you want to say something else.
I do, because I think it's important, and I may hand it over to Morah or Luis to talk more in depth on it at this. Sure. But one of the areas that we wanted to know, and Sam and I had some very candid conversations on the front end of what if this shows that more homogenous organizations are more financially successful. That there's an sort of an image or a conception out there that maybe women are more risk averse in a lot of what they do. And what I think is really important to note is that the studies found that when you have diversity on your boards, you are more likely to be engaging in more inclusive lending practices. So if a credit union exists to try to expand the economic capacity of its community, to try to help people gain access to affordable credit and better financial equity, you need to have practices in place that are allowing for more inclusive lending. And that's what I think that was a really key finding that came out of this.
Yeah, no doubt. And Luis, Morah, do you want to add to that? Any information you guys want to add to from Jill's response, Morah?
I will add that very interestingly, we did find that there was more inclusive lending on more racially diverse boards, regardless of the communities that they served. So like Jill was saying earlier, even in, communities where there might not be as much diversity, there still was, more purposeful lending towards diverse groups with the more diverse boards. So.
Gotcha. Luis, anything else to add from your perspective?
No, that was perfect.
Okay. Morah, that was perfect. So, guys, so where can we find this report and how can folks get access to it? Luis, I'll let you answer that one. Where can folks find this report? Because there's a lot of great information in here. I mean, I was poring over it last night. I went, oh my gosh, that number? Are you kidding me? So where can we find it?
Well, it's obviously available. Well, actually, Morah may know better than me, but it's obviously available it's obviously available in our website.
Okay.
But if you Google credit union board of directors, board size, gender, race, and institutional performance, it will pop up. I'm sure.
Okay. Good deal. And go to cucollaborate.com as well, and it'll be there.
Yes.
So do you have it on your website by any chance, or is it just CU Collaborate? Or
we do not have it on our website. Where it's on the CU Collaborate website.
Well, we'll put that link in the show notes so people can get right to it and check it out. Anything else to add to wrap up? Luis, I'll let you go first. Any final thoughts here? I mean, I know we're just kind of scratching the surface here of this study and what you guys found. So, but any final thoughts here before we close out?
No, we are just, I think we have covered it all great, but the main thing to say is thank you again to Jill for sponsoring this project, and thank you for Sam for being a dogged pursuer of FOIAs.
No doubt.
He gives us all kinds of additional data, and of course, also thank you for Morah for her wonderful contributions trying to develop high quality estimates of directors' race and ethnicity.
Indeed, yeah, very thorough stuff you guys have produced. Very thorough. Morah, any final thoughts here?
Well, I guess I'll throw it back and say thank you, Luis, for all your hard work and all of your in-depth financial analyses. You know, I can never do that. That's why we make a good team, because we balance each other out with our skills. So
the power of collaboration. That's why they call it CU Collaborate.
Oh,
Jill,
yeah.
I'll let you have the final word here.
So, of course, we're very thankful for CU Collaborate for caring about this and making sure this information gets out there. We know there have been a significant number of downloads of the report. So also very thankful to the industry for caring about this information and being curious about it. And very much looking forward to being able to partner with credit unions to help them improve where they stand now that they have a better idea of the picture of the landscape right now, too.
Indeed. Yeah, we got some work to do. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mike, for giving us the platform to talk about it today. You can tell we get excited about it, and very happy to be able to share our thoughts on this.
Yeah, I can't tell about your excitement. No, I can't tell at all. It's not coming across. No, you guys, the passion is oozing. So so thank you for all your hard work and opening people's eyes to what needs to be done. We got some work to do. So let's get at it. And thankfully, you guys have these great numbers. So, and again, we'll put the link in the show notes so people can get right to it and check it out themselves, and give you guys a shout if they have any questions or need some help in any areas. So good stuff. All righty. All right, guys. Well, thank you again for your time today. I know you're busy folks, so thank you for your time and providing us with this valuable information, and look forward to chatting again soon. All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are welcome. And we're going to end the live cast. So long, everybody. Thanks for those who are watching live. Bye-bye.